Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Leaders Lighthouse, where we are shining the light on leadership. And today we're continuing the discussion from last week. So this is kind of a sidebar from the self-confidence formula, which we've been discussing from Napoleon Hill's book, The Think and Grow Rich. We believe highly in that book and all of the teachings therein. But this self-confidence formula, we've been doing a deep dive into the 5-step process. So we're still on step 3. And really, it's about reflection. It's about looking deeply at how you want your life to be. So I'm going to read out again the 3rd step in the self-confidence formula so that people have an idea of what our discussion is going to revolve around today. So the 3rd step is, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. And so we've been talking about reflection, the reflection of your life, creating that life that you desire, that life that we all want to build. We all have dreams, we all have wishes, but it's about taking those wishes and dreams and building our life around it. So creating it based on the vision we have of the life we want to exist. So we talked last week about the reflection of your life, and really that is, how do you want to make it? And let's go about taking the steps to create that life. But today I got a sidebar because I've been reading, if I've told you guys, the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and a lot of it is these principles as well. So what I got from it in the reflection of your life was this mirror principle, and based on a Chinese proverb that there are 3 visions in the mirror, 3 reflections in the mirror. The first is, how do you see yourself? The second is, how do others see you? So completely different angle of view. And then how does it really look, right? What is the actual vision? And that's a difficult one for people. So I'm looking forward to our discussion on that part. So I'd like each of us kind of to fill in what we expect, what we look at when we see our vision or our reflection of the life we have. So how do we see ourselves? Let's start with that. I'd like somebody, I'm usually the guy who leads the discussion, but have you guys given thought to, how do you see yourself? Who would like to go first on that one? Nobody, so it's left up to me again.
I'll jump in. It's okay.
Thanks for jumping in. I know you're always ready to jump into the water.
I'm always ready to jump in. So honestly, how I see myself has changed, and it's gotten deeper. And it's because of these discussions that we've been having, that have been building on each other, that I've thought about this question: how do I see myself? And it came to the surface. I got my reflection, and how I see myself is somebody that's a thought leader in how to lead teams. So whether that's me leading a team, I'm a member of a team, or I'm teaching others how to move through changes and innovation through a team. It's all 3 of those. And I didn't get that because I was so close to it. I had to look outside of myself in order to be able to actually see that reflection and have it come back to me, to have that realization.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? Not enough of us take the opportunity to look deeply and see what it is that's the real vision of what we think ourselves to be, right? Anybody else?
Yeah, sure, I can jump in.
Thank you. And so, by the way, our guest today is Irina Cregan, and she's a fellow thought leader as well. She loves our background and would love to have one, but you got to earn that right. So, Irina, thank you for joining us today, and we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much, RJ. My pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's very exciting to have this conversation, as I myself have embarked on my own personal transformational journey around 3 years ago. And just for you to understand a little bit the background, I I've lived with myself, if I can say so, for 30 plus years, not knowing who I was. I was carrying somebody else's beliefs, somebody else's sets of values, very afraid of showing up as my true authentic self in the world. And for the past 3 years, I've been really, really taking the time to reflect on who I am. And I started by tweaking, retweaking, removing, adding, learning, unlearning certain things about myself. So that is as well setting really my beliefs, not somebody else's, my own beliefs and values. And then I often have conversation with Linda around that, and it's like a little life tree that I've built, and I've put at the root of it the sets of values and beliefs. And then I started drawing the branches, the leaves, and that'll be the typical responses and the role-related behaviors that will be congruent with this sets of beliefs. So when you said reflection, this is and knowing who we are, this is the first thing that came to mind, RJ.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it takes a certain person. Not enough of us are willing to look deeply at ourselves, right? And see what comes back at us. I know that was the first step I had to do in my personal development journey, which is almost 10 years ago now. So I sometimes wonder if I'm behind the times, only because I feel like I haven't done enough work and progression in those 10 years, but everything happens in its time. Everything unravels as it's supposed to. But again, it has been a 10-year journey. I've learned a lot. But the very first thing was I had to do a self-assessment. I had to look deeply at the person I was, because I was affecting everyone around me. I was making other people angry, displeased with me. I was chasing people away. And most people, look, I blamed it all on everybody else, right? I blamed that on, you know what, they don't like me, that's their problem. They don't see the real me. But I didn't see the real me. I didn't see what they were seeing. And we'll get to that very shortly. But I had to look deeply at the person I was in order to become a better person. Because now at this stage, I believe very much that it's our responsibility to make people want to be around us, to want to spend time with us. And if we don't do that, we're failing. We're not putting enough effort into becoming a better person, becoming that person that people enjoy being around and want to spend time around. So I had to look deeply at who I was. And I will recommend to everyone out there, if you haven't done that, if you really don't know yourself, that's one of the first steps you got to do. You got to take an honest look in the mirror and see that reflection of who you are. And especially if you want to become somebody else, you want to be a different person. You want to look. When I look in the mirror now, I want to be Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy. I want to share the message that I've learned from all of these great teachers and so many more. But in doing that, I need to believe that I can be that person. I need to believe that I deserve to be up, to write this book, to share this message. I need to believe I'm capable of that. And for a long time, even until recently, I didn't believe who am I was the question I had asked myself a lot. Who am I to want this? Who am I to deserve this? But now I look and think, why not me, right? Why should I doubt myself and my ability to be that person? So when I look in the mirror, I definitely see the reflection of myself alongside these teachers, kind of like the Mount Rushmore, right? We see all these faces and mine's right there in the middle of it. So I believe I am that level of a teacher, and it's my mission to just be that person, regardless of, or maybe removing the doubts that I may have of whether I am this person or not. I know I deserve to step alongside and share this message that I've learned from many of these teachers. So Curtis, you've yet to chime in. So what are you thinking when you think of the reflection of your life and how you see yourself? Tell us a little bit more.
Well, I did achieve mentoring with Dr. Joe.
DeMartini
No,
or Vitale, Dr. Joe Vitale.
Dr. Vidal. Yeah, I did his miracle program there. 2018, I think. No, before that, 2016. So I did that for was it 6 months, and then they had a year program where you can have like access to all their program stuff, and I did all those. Before that, I just found that I was just like an angry guy, just trying to make it, just being a construction worker, right? And then, well, I had a kid, and that totally changed everything for me. So I started reflecting differently on my life and saying, hey, I got to provide for more than just my wife and I have another child I could take care of. So then I started thinking ways how to make extra money and how to be a different person, right? Because obviously you want to be the best for your child and best for you, right? So then I did that for a couple years, and then I met RJ. That somewhere in that journey, and we started meeting each other. And it's funny how you can be similar people, but yet so different at the same time. And that's probably why we connected so well. I think because we have similar things in our lives happen, or certain attitudes, I guess, maybe more so. Also, sorry, some battery issues there. Also, I think that you can change. Anybody can change their life if they choose to. It's a matter of being aware. And then once you're aware, you got to find ways to get it. And you got to have a desire to get it done, right? If you don't, then it's not going to happen. You just go around in circles, keep on doing the same thing, keep on complaining about the same old thing. But one day you just say, hey, how can I change something? And once you say, ask yourself questions of how to do something, and that's the reflection that helps you become a better person. So when you do look in that mirror, it's like, hey, I was this person, but today I don't have to be. I can be better. I can do better. What a cool thing I thought today was I was listening to Darren Daly with Darren Hardy, so success leader. I don't know if anybody knows him or not, but anyhow, he was talking about Mount Everest. A lot of people have climbed it, right? People hit the peak, no problems. But guess what happens on the descent? Most people die, because what happens is they forget that they still have to be alert. They still have to be on point. They have to be ready for anything, because when you descend, people say, oh, I made it to the top, relax. No, you can't. So I think your reflection, you always got to be on top of your game, no matter what it is. Even when you become super successful, you still got to be humble. You still got to be loyal to yourself and to your family, and keep your morals. Don't change that. And that's one of the things I thought today was very, very cool. So I thought I'd share that as well as a reflection, because I do listen to him Monday through Fridays, and he always has pretty cool stuff to talk about. And it's free to listen to, so it's great. That's it.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you put out your own messages daily too, that people are very inspired by. Thank you for doing that, because you know what, I get your messages every once in a while. And look, you still inspire me. You know what, I've been at this for 10 years, but you're somebody who still inspires me on a regular basis. I've read something recently about, I think it was 6 different types of leaders. And one of those, again, is the cheerleader. And I said many, many times, you are my cheerleader. You're the guy who keeps me going. When I otherwise might have wanted to quit, and look where we are now, right? Because there were times I wanted to give up. I didn't think we were worth it. I didn't think it was something valuable enough to continue. But you kept saying, no, you know what, we're doing good. We just need to keep going. We'll do what we can. We'll only we'll put on the best event we can. We'll serve people where we can. And you know what, that inspired me, right? And look where we are now. So we're building an amazing team here. We're set for some great work to come up. So thank you for all you do to inspire me and to inspire the people out there with your daily efforts.
Awesome.
You're doing an amazing job as well. So thank you. And so, like I said, it's, a lot of people don't want to take that deep look at themselves. And so you mentioned earlier, one of the things is your why you do it, right? That's important, because look, you need to have that desire. You need to have that inspiration. I knew I was trying to serve. I knew I wanted to serve people. I knew that was part of what I was doing and why I should be doing it. John Maxwell, who, again, the man who changed my life, I've heard him say, he loves hearing that from people, and he hears it from thousands upon thousands of people. John, you've changed my life. Well, John Maxwell changed my life through his book, Make Today Count, which, I read that at a time I needed to hear that message most. And I've been learning about personal development and transformation and growth ever since. He says, when your why gets stronger, the way gets easier, right? So what is your reason? Why do you do this? Why did you change? Curtis, you wanted to be a better father for your daughter and be a better husband to your wife. And you changed who you are based on that inspiration. So when looking into yourself and whether you consider what kind of person I am, look at why you need to do something, why you need to change or put this effort in. So then the one big problem is we don't see ourselves from other people's eyes, right? We don't see what other people see in us. I used to say, you know what? I'm a nice guy as long as people don't piss me off. But truthfully, I was getting pissed off. I was getting angry at a situation, at another person, at something that was going on in my life. Look, we get angry when we're cut off in traffic, right? These are daily things that affect us and make us feel worse and display that attitude out there, or the aggravation that we're experiencing, or dissatisfaction with the life that we're not living or we're forced to live. So how can we see ourselves from that other person's point of view? How can we look a little deeper into that mirror and see that second reflection of how do others see us? Any thoughts on that? Go ahead, Curtis.
I usually just think that if you ask questions of others, they'll tell you, and hopefully they tell you the truth. Because sometimes people like to lie to you a little bit, say, "Oh yeah, you're doing great," but meanwhile, you're probably not doing the best, right? But then, "Oh, you suck." It's like, what are you talking about? This other guy said it'd be great. Like, really? Like, okay. And then you start questioning if what you're doing is good or not. So you got to make sure your people you're talking to are truthful and honest people, because sometimes people just like to say nice things to you and they don't really mean it. So you got to learn how to read people, and hopefully you ask enough people the question, how am I doing? How this? They'll tell you the truth, and then enough people will give you the right answer, and then you can judge it that way. But to reflect on ourselves is different than how we see others will see us. It's always different, no matter what. Because sometimes we're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm sucking at the gym, even though I go 5 times a week." It's like, I'm not getting any bigger. And then your old friend from before is like, "Holy crap, you look huge." It's like, "Oh no, I don't. I'm not that big." But you know what I mean? It's just something as simple as that. Because when we look at ourselves, like, "Oh, I don't think I'm making any progress." Someone hasn't seen you for 2 months, like, "Holy crap, what happened to you? You look huge." You're like, "I don't think so." It's like, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's just something like that. The progress we see is so daily and incremental that it's hard to see, right? It's much like Eat That Frog, where you put frogs in cold water and you heat up the water, you get cooked fast, right? They didn't even know it. So that's how I look at when you look at yourself that kind of way. You always have to ask other people how you doing, and hopefully they tell you the truth.
Definitely, feedback is a big part of it. You also want to watch, like you say, who you ask. Look, my wife, thank God we learned how to communicate with each other, because I'll tell you, once upon a time when I was at my worst, we couldn't carry on conversations very much at all. So we've learned how to talk to each other, but we've also learned how to be open and honest with each other. Because look, she's the person who means the most to me. And if I'm not doing well on her behalf, if I'm not treating her well, or she's not, because I want her respect at the end of the day. And so if I see, or I ask those questions, you know what I mean? How have I been doing, or how have I hurt you in the last little while? Because you know what, if I see her being despondent or upset with me, I want to know why. And so I ask those questions, like you say. But she's also learned to be able to tell me if I'm not performing right. You know what I mean? And do it in a way so that I don't get pissed off. I take it as a matter of feedback rather than criticism, right? Which is a big part of it. And we also, I think we have to give people a space to be honest with us. Like you say, they don't want to be honest. Maybe they're afraid to insult us. They're afraid of our reaction. We have to give people a space in order to deliver that feedback towards us. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does it, and I understand the feedback thing, you know, and it's great. Feedback is great, you know, it's supposed to feed us. Actually, I always say it derives from the word feed. It's supposed to feed us and make us grow. But I'm just trying to understand the context. Does it really matter what others think of us? Like, we have so little control over how people perceive us. And is it really important at the end of the day, once we are trying to be, true to who we are?
Of course. You know what? Great question. Thank you very much. Because that's, what something some people may be asking out there. Why do I have to please others? Why is that important? But that's exactly it. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we have a responsibility to make people want to be around us, right? Because, look, it's going to be lonely. It's going to be a lonely world if we're only concerned about ourselves and how we want this, or can I have this, or like, if that's all we're considering, it's almost like we're self-absorbed. We're not concerned about those other people we have to interact with. And I've insulted a lot of people in my day, because I believed in brutal honesty. So I would deliver a message, a barb, you know what I mean? I used to even say to my kids, there's never a bad time for a good lecture. But even lecturing my kids on this subject or that, or when they're not doing right, or the proper way to do something, it was affecting them in a negative way. And they began to have a dislike for me, right? They didn't want to deal with me. They didn't want to interact with me. They were afraid to upset with me. So they were walking on eggshells. And that's basically what it boils. Do we want people to walk around on eggshells around us? Do we want people to be delicate in their approach with us? Or do we want them to be able to be comfortable? Look, if we want that feedback, if we want that growth opportunity, are they going to be willing to share that if we're so self-absorbed, so ignorant, so inconsiderate of their feelings and their thoughts? So that's my thought on what your question is. I hope it answers, because that was a great question, because there are people out there who may be asking themselves when they hear this, right? So any thoughts on what I've said, or do you have another question around that? Because that can often lead to, more questions, more thoughts.
No, I'm just wondering, let's say you like cake and then somebody feeds you cake, but cake is not good for you because it's excessively sugary. So what I like about feedback is that you always have to know that you have to remain open about feedback, but then you choose what you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is the way I see it. Yeah. But thank you for sharing, RJ.
And just like you choose whether you want that piece of chocolate cake or whatever, or do you prefer vanilla, right? You know what I mean? So it's always a choice, no doubt about that. But there's why, like you say, we have to be open to, as individuals, that person who wants to grow, who wants to become better for whatever reason, we have to be open to it. And if we're not, look, I put it this way. I remember there was a time I did not eat cheesecake. For whatever reason, cheese and cake, I love cheese, I love cake, but don't put them together. And I'll tell you, the very first time, somebody kind of forced me to taste some chocolate cheesecake. And I tried it. And boy, was I impressed, right? I loved it, and I've eaten cheesecake ever since. So it's being open to what you're going to have, what you're going to feel, what you're going to hear. And then, like you say, making your own choices from there on, but being willing and giving people the space to deliver it really is that opportunity to reflect on how other people see you and how other people think of you.
I wanted to add too, on all this really great discussion, I can think of about 4 different threads, but I'm going to take this one. But, we talk about soliciting feedback and taking it in and deciding whether we're going to do something with it or if we're going to return it to sender. But there's another thing that I think is really valuable when you're looking for feedback. It's in the people that you surround yourself with. And you don't necessarily want to be with everyone that's exactly like you. You want some diversity. And so you're looking to surround yourself with individuals that you admire something in them, and they may or may not have that, you may or may not share that attribute, but it's something you want to explore. Then asking for feedback from these individuals will help you to grow and expand. And the reason why I'm saying this is because let's just take one example here. Some people are introverted, some people are extroverted. So if you're someone that's more quiet and wants to sit back in the room and observe and read the room and do all of that, that's great. But there's also other people out there that want to work the room and they want to have a conversation with each and every person. Well, those two individuals, when you pair them up, they can both learn and grow and share each other's perspectives, and they can give you feedback on your approach. And I like what Arvina said about, whether or not people are going to like us or not. Well, sometimes there's approaches you can take in life, and maybe people aren't going to necessarily think it's the one to take. Just real quickly, I'll tell a little story, but I was at a networking event, and I like to be that person that holds back and have people come to me. And it was interesting that I had people that would come up to me, they'd have a conversation, they would stay and hang out at the table. And I got approached, hey, Linda, you need to be out there working the room. And I said, well, why? Everyone's coming to me. I'm having these great, deep conversations. Why would I do it any differently? And it wasn't because their approach was better or that mine was worse. It was just how it works for me. It works for me to do it that way than it does to actually move around and operate the room. And so that's what I wanted to add to this section here about feedback is great, but find people that are different than you, because I got to experience feedback on both ends, what I'm normal and open and interested in doing. And then I saw somebody else's and I kind of thought, well, I'm going to do maybe a little hybrid of the two. And I did go around and walk around the room after that, but I was thinking, why do I have to? What I'm doing is working for me. So why would I change? But I did. I tried both to see what was more effective. And sure enough, my comfort zone of where I was operating was the one that I prefer.
Absolutely. And that's part of it, right? We're all different. And we have no need to truly impress our beliefs or our thoughts or the way we act. We don't have to impress that on other people, right? So do you want to improve as an individual? Do you want to grow out of your shell as that introvert? Or, do you like to hide by the wall and wait for people to, wait for somebody to come and ask you to dance, basically, right? So look, we're all different. And I can't change you. Like, I used to not discuss religion with people because I had different religious beliefs than other people, especially in this multicultural world that we're living in right now. We can't expect other people to have the same beliefs, the same thoughts, the same, environments. So I'm not trying to force anybody into embracing or living this life or changing at all, if that's what your choice is, right? But at the same time, I'm looking to influence those people who are in a position that they want to improve, change, or, grow better or change, learn something new. I'm always willing to have that conversation to work to help them develop, but they have to be willing, right? I'm not here to force anybody or force, something down their throat that they're not willing to accept. I don't want to poison anybody with something that they're not going to take well to. Like allergies. Well, you know what I mean? Same thing. Like, you don't know somebody who's allergic to peanuts or whatever. You don't know that. So whatever you're forcing upon them, take it from them. Take your inspiration from how they behave. If you know what, Linda, I'm an extrovert and you're an introvert. But if I approached you at a networking event and you kind of, had a little response to me, but you kind of still shied away. Well, I'm not going to continue to, try and force a relationship there if that's something you're really not interested in or appear not to be interested in, because that's just me forcing my behavior and my beliefs upon you. So we have to be understanding of those other people that we're trying to serve, whether it be a short conversation, whether it be at a networking event where we'd like to, really get to know people, or whether we're just trying to share a message that would help them grow and develop. Each of these instances, we have to be understanding of the person we're dealing with, their behaviors and how they respond. So, but then the next part, and this is difficult for everybody, I think, because look, we can look into ourselves. We can understand who we are as a person. If you're really willing, you can learn about yourself, whether it be through books, whether it be through asking people, you can learn about yourself. And you can also look at things from another person's perspective. You can get the feedback. You can know if you're affecting somebody negatively and then try and change your behavior to improve the way they think about you. So you can see things from other people's point of view. But how we see ourselves, how other people see us, that really is different from this third reflection, which is how it really looks. How is it really going on? How do we understand maybe the difference between the two visions, or what is the real situation behind this? And I don't know the answer to this one. I really don't. So I'd love people's thoughts here on how do we understand what the truth is? Does anybody have any thoughts? Curtis, I saw you unmute, so I'd love to hear what you have to say on this topic.
The truth is what you believe at the moment in time, but that changes, right? Like how you were 10 years ago, RJ is not the same person today, and your beliefs change. So I think you got to be able to pivot and change accordingly, and maybe just change the way you think. But there's certain morals you're going to keep for the rest of your life. If you're a Christian, you have Christian values, you'll have those values for most of your life. Even if you get in trouble, at some point you always turn back to those values, right? But to change who you are completely from one point to another, I don't think you can do that. I think it's just one of those things that you are who you are, and you can change to a certain degree. If you will never be an introvert, right, RJ?
No, I don't think that's possible. I'm a big mouth and I use it very well. We were talking about that today over dinner. Is just, you know what? There are people. So my son's boy or my daughter's boyfriend, he was saying how his dad's very loud, his brothers or his sister's very loud, but him and his mom, they're very quiet and they talk to each other very low. But so that's how that person is, and they can't. And I don't think they can control that type of behavior or that type. Look, I'm a nice guy and I've learned how to become a nice guy, even though I'm loud and sometimes some people might say obnoxious because I am so loud. But I've learned how to be delicate and considerate in order to still come across as a deep, kind, generous person.
Yeah. So I think you can change a little bit. Like you're better than what you used to be. You're still loud, but you have more respect and you have more consciousness of other people's thoughts and stuff too, right? So you have changed, right? But you still have that certain innate ability. Just like I'm introverted, so is Linda. We're quiet. We're probably those people that stand around. It's like, oh yeah, hi, how you doing? We're good conversationalist persons, but at the same time, we're not likely to go and say, talk to every single person at an event, right? Even though we may want to say, oh, I need to talk to that person, but like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But if someone says, hey, we're going to talk to this, you probably would go with that other person to talk to that person rather than just go on your own, right? So, yeah. But
there's ways to get around that too, like by banking on other people. Look, you know what? If you had told me, okay, you know what? I need to meet that person. Can you introduce me? Or, you know what? Maybe I would take it upon myself. Look, I can take you up to him and we can get to know him if that's what you like. So there's ways around those truths about ourselves that we know and accept.
Yeah, my favorite stories are when people say, oh, I used to be introverted, and you would never guess that because they were brave enough to move up to be a more extroverted type person, like do seminars, be on stage, and do other things that you think you have to be extrovert to be, right? But obviously they grew a little bit here and there to be able to do those things and be a little bit brave, right? So, yeah, so I think those stories are always amazing, though.
Because I don't think if you're an extrovert, I don't think you could be introverted. It's just, the thought process behind that is just not possible. Like I can't be quiet and reserved anymore. But whereas before I used to think I was an introvert, but really I was shy for whatever reason. I was unable to approach in certain circumstances, but I was still a loudmouth. Even as a kid, I would argue with people and, assert my values and, try to have my point across. So I was always an extrovert. Same with an introvert. I don't think, even if you say, oh, I used to be introverted, because people may see that. It's just the growth that you've done. But still, you get scared. You don't want to take that step. You're always going to question yourself on whether you should do this. So there's the reality behind, oh, I used to be introverted. But no, you're still an introvert.
Yeah.
Now you've just developed certain
skill set, I guess.
certain skill sets. Thank you. That's a good word.
What do you have to say, Linda?
Well, I've been thinking about all kinds of things, and I don't even know if I can say I'm an introvert anymore. I'll say that I'm kind of like that more shy person that gets a skill set to go do. And I actually get my energy from speaking and being around people. So I'm like the best of both worlds. And honestly, you made a good point there that, when you step out there to put yourself out there to show yourself to the world, yes, people they'll look at the vision they see you as someone that's extroverted. They see you as someone that takes risks. They see you as someone that will put themselves out there and give it their best shot to see what can happen. And so when you ask about the vision and you want to bring how you see yourself and how the world sees you, when you start to put the whole thing together and you look at it from the sky high vision, that's when you get to see the truth. Because if anyone said that I was an introvert, I wouldn't agree with them, because I have moved forward in all these different ways. So a lot of people will say that, and they say, well, Linda, you have a lot to say. You're not shy. Oh, yes, I am. I'd rather sit at that food table and have everyone come to me than to go push myself to go work the room. But I love the people, but I'm just kind of shy to go out there at first. But the moment you pair me with somebody that needs to have an introduction, I'm all over the room.
And
So,
introverts do that, actually, by the way. They do feed off other people because they don't want to take the first step. They don't want to go and embrace whatever circumstance they're faced with. They will question it. They will consider it. But once that shell is cracked, right? The eggshell, it starts leaking out, the yolk is all over the place, right? That's really the introvert. They're really internal. They're locked inside whatever this circumstance is. But when you let it out, boy, watch them flow, right? So absolutely, I do think you're an introvert. Even though I've known you for well over a year now, and you've been very engaging. You've been very open. But I still see those circumstances where you're questioning, you're considering, and what's the next step, and you maybe even there's a little doubt behind it, right? But
sure.
you're still I like what you said about the sky high vision. So looking back, and I've often said, and in fact I've envisioned it once, that if we could float up, right, and see things from the eagle's point of view, we would see how other humans react and how we interact amongst one another, knowing that we're all different, we're all just trying to get by, and we're all just trying to live this same life. Each of us live it from different circumstances, different perspectives, but we're all trying to live this same life and exist amongst each other. So there's the reality, is that we're all different, but we're all the same.
That's
I
good.
love how you summarized that.
Irina, you're a guest, and I don't want to single you out, but what are your thoughts on the discussion today and how it's gone? And do you have any parting thoughts on us?
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, these are my like-minded people. I love to have this type of conversations. I love the fact that all of us, want to make this world a better place, and we're all willing to, as you said, RJ, to improve ourselves, improve our relationships, make them more meaningful, deep, and I guess teach our kids, as Curtis said, because I related to that, I resonated with that because my why is my daughter. And the reason why I started this transformational journey is giving, because I was realizing I was going to be her role model, and I wanted her to have a beautiful example of a life, of an authentic life, because I know that I haven't had one. Well, it's never too late. So I'd like to thank you all. Actually, it's a great conversation and a great it's a great way to finish a great night on a very nice note. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for the part you've played. We love hearing from like minds. That's why we've created this show. Like you noticed, we all have varying opinions. And I'd love to show that to people out there. So thank you for the part you've played. Thank you for your contributions. I hope we hear a lot more from you within our community. You're always welcome to come and join us. We are here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. This is just one of the things we're working on. We're working on other things in our community, though, so I hope you get to have a bigger part in some of the great work we're doing here. So we also like to give people the opportunity to connect back. Tell people about what you do, why you do it, and how they can learn more about you and what you do.
Okay, sure. You mean where I can be found in the
Yes,
community?
give
and on
yourself a
social
pitch.
media?
Let people know about you.
Yes, absolutely. So well, first of all, I have a full-time job. I'm passionate about the investments industry, and I have my day job, which is a regulatory compliance specialist. I work for an asset manager, if I can say so, actually, an independent broker on the street. And, I'm passionate about transformational leadership, and I advocate for healthy work cultures. Having experienced actually dysfunctional and toxic work environments, have given me a voice to speak up and stand for environments where everybody matter and where people can bring their authentic self, even to work, where they don't have to wear masks. So I can be found on social media. So my name is Irina Cregan, and you can connect. I mean, on LinkedIn, I guess, Instagram, Facebook.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I didn't, by the way, if you guys noticed, I didn't have our introduction the same way today. Kind of was interested in getting into the topic, but again, thank you everyone for joining us today. This has been another great discussion around the self-confidence formula as we talked about the reflection of your life. Next week, we're going to talk about reflecting on your life. So taking that time to see how your life is progressing and what you can do to progress it just that little bit further. So thank you again for joining us. I'm RJ Horner, Beacon of Life and Leadership, along with our team.
Curtis Leong, and don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell and leave a comment if you find this conversation interesting. Thanks.
And with
Linda Tilson, Beacon of Team Empowerment.
Awesome. So thank you for joining us, folks. Please join us again next time, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's 5 p.m. Pacific time for Linda and everybody out in her region. We are a global world, and we want people to join us in all of those spaces. So we tried to create it at an adequate time for everybody to join us, and we have a lot more to come here in Leaders Lighthouse. Have a great day. Until next time, RJ Horner saying better days ahead.
Good night.
Recordings.